we plant the seeds of dreams where knowledge flows like endless streams. Building bridges, moving strong in every home where we belong. Workspaces hum with unity. Digital wellness sets us free. A tablet's glow, a guiding spark from tiny hands.
Okay, good afternoon. I hope Winnie is here. Winnie, I've seen somebody like you. Is Winnie in? Winnie Rachel? Okay, I've seen Bonfires. That's okay. All right. I think we can start while the rest will not wait for any longer. I will just start immediately. All right. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good evening, from wherever you are joining us from. My name is Collins Dundo, the CEO and the founder of Youth Initiative Development Program, and also the founder of the Coalition for Digital Education Wellness. Today is a very important day, and we welcome you for this wonderful session on digital education wellness, second edition. We are very sorry, apologies from YIDP, because this event was to happen in person, but because of a bit of logistics, we resorted to make good use of virtual platform. Housekeeping rule, attendees will be in silence. So I ask you to be on mute. And when asked to speak, kindly raise your hands so that the moderator and the MC will be able to give you some time to share your contribution. The session is gonna be start now up to 5 in the evening. We have second session today, and I am glad you have managed to come, and I encourage you to be with us until the end of the session. It's gonna take 2 days. So we have very important speakers and also very important discussion that will be taking place tomorrow. So allow me to, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to, sorry for that. Okay. All right. I think there is a bit of confusion somewhere. We really need to, it's very important to have a national anthem. That is very key because we have people represented from different parts of the world. And I will be glad if we can have a moment of national anthem. Just give me some few minutes. It's gonna be there in a few. Sorry for that. Okay, we are using okay, almost there.
Mungu nguvu yetu.
All right. I think because of technical problem, we'll just have to start straight away. Okay. Sorry for that. All right. Okay. Good evening. Good afternoon. From wherever you are joining us from. I hope you can see my screen. Okay. My name is Collins Dundo. For those who do not know me, I'm the CEO and founder of Youth Initiative Development Program. I would like to take a moment to give welcoming remarks, distinguished guests, and representative from different organizations. Today, Africa does not gather merely on another conference or another virtual roundtable or another virtual symposium. We are gathering here to define our moment for future of human sustainability. And we stand at a historical crossroad. For centuries, humanity has been shaped by revolution, agricultural, industrial, and informational, sorry. But this generation stands inside something even more profound, the human digital revolution. And that's what we are discussing today. For the first time in history, an entire continent is learning, working, socializing, and dreaming through digital platforms. Even minute Every minute, the millions of African log into virtual classroom and also marketplaces, shopping through devices in the palm of their hands. And even right now, I'm very sure we could be having around 3 or 4 people doing the same. And our digital transformation is accelerating at a rate the world has never seen. But there is one haunting question we must ask: at what cost? So everything that we are doing, at least there is a price that we are paying. And while our technology becomes smarter, our bodies are becoming more sedentary. While our connectivity increases, our biological well-being is declining, and we are successfully upgrading our operating systems, but we are inadvertently downgrading our human biology. So if I mean human biology, just mention a bit of burdens of health issues and risks that we are having or we are struggling with. So, ladies and gentlemen, the challenge before us is not digital transformation. The challenge is human sustainability within that transformation. We are here to ensure that innovation serves humanity and not the other way around. So, today I am here as the founder and the CEO for Youth Initiative Development Program, as the coordinating lead also for the Coalition for Digital Education Wellness, that is CoDEW, born from strategic partnership between YIDP and different stakeholders, which happened last year. So CoDEW was created because the data demands a multi-sectoral intervention. We are not here to share opinions. We are here to act on empirical evidence that points that brewing public health, there is a brewing public health in our community. So according to WHO, according to Communication Authority of Kenya, let me start by sharing that insights. Or in 2024, the internet penetration in our regional hub has increased to 85. That was in 2024, but now we are in 2026. So to mean that there is increase. Yet while we celebrate this, the WHO on the other side in 2023, according to the research that was done, has identified physical inactivity as the fourth leading risk factor for global mortality, a factor directly exacerbated by our always on digital lifestyle. So in Africa, we are witnessing a unique sedentary contagion. Even the recent research was done by Adebayo et al. It was on 2024, has established a direct clinical correlation between unregulated digital consumption at the surge of early onset hypertension and also metabolic syndrome in African youth. So furthermore, if I also mention a research that was done by UNICEF in 2023 that was that algorithmic toxicity and doom scrolling are now primarily determinant of adolescents' mental health. So we are building smart cities, but we are building them on tired minds and physically eroded bodies. If we fail to intervene now, we risk raising a generation that is digitally brilliant but biologically compromised. This is why digital immunity and hygiene is no longer a luxury. It is a continental mandate. So today, DEWS 2026 becomes more than a symposium. We are here to launch for a permanent continental infrastructure. So we reject the centralized ivory tower approach. Africa's challenges require localized, agile engine of change. So we officially announced the formation of a digital wellness workforce in every African state. So this will require volunteers. This will be done on voluntarily basis. We are calling for a team of local experts, policymakers, human resource directors, and also clinicians and youth advocates to drive monthly interventions in schools, programs, corporate wellness, and also audit within their own borders, whether in Nairobi, in Addis Ababa, and also in Dhaka. The work will be driven by those who know their peoples best. So while local work happens daily, the continent will gather annually to synchronize our efforts. We start here in Nairobi. So God willing, we are planning, we will do in-person event in Nairobi in 2027. And then maybe on the other years, maybe we can go to Southern Africa and also maybe Western and Eastern as well. So this virtual will move, and we will ensure we create the ripple effects within the countries and within the communities that we are coming from, so that we ensure that the citizens are protected and health by default policies are implemented. But policy alone cannot transform a continent. We need an industry, we need innovators. And also, I am proud to announce that immediately following the formation of Global Advisory Board this quarter, we will also be glad to launch the CoDEW Afro Digital Wellness Startup Fellowship. This initiative represents the most ambitious digital wellness innovations program ever envisioned for Africa. Our goal is to nurture around 50 high potential innovators annually. who will be building health by default technology and also advocating within the communities that they are coming from on how they can help the youth and the community at large to be well digitally. We should not merely fund up. If you are an innovator and you are in this space and you are a funder and you are funding mostly applications, but it's high time now let us engineer a new sector where technology protects health rather than exploiting it. To achieve this, we are urging different experts also to join us on board, whereby we can have a unified African digital wellness curriculum. This will be the gold standard, ensuring that a fellow in Accra and a fellow in Nairobi are working from the same rigorous neuroscientific and clinical foundation. I'm extending an official invitation to the universities, if we have representative from the universities, and also private sectors with the CoDEW to partner with the CoDEW Secretariat. We need you to host our fellows either virtually through your e-learnings or e-learning platform, or in person as local institutional incubators. By hosting a local fellow, your institutions become a primary research ground for the future of human capital. Partner with us to turn your campus into a living laboratory for digital flourishing. To our global experts, apply for our international advisory board. We need your wisdom in AI ethics and also in neuroscience, robotic, and policy to steer this ship. You can do that in CoDEW at yidpk.org. I think that will be shared in on the chat there. So to the corporate leaders, do not just be consumers of tech, but we ask you to be a champion of wellness. Join CoDEW as institutional partner, that is Coalition for Digital Wellness. And for our visionary sponsors, we also ask you to champion digital wellness in your network and your sphere, and also the spheres of work. So to the youth of Africa also, this movement belongs to you because you are not just a user, you are the architect of digital Africa that is not just smart, but wise. Okay, let us make one declaration together today. Africa will not choose between technology and well-being. We will lead with both, and Africa is rising. So history will not remember us on how many gigabytes we consume. History will remember whether we protected the minds and also bodies and heartbeats of the people behind these screens, that is tech. The era of digital saturation is over. I think through these discussions, that just it confirms so. So the era of digital flourishing, it should begin as soon as now. So to guide us forward, we must begin with the unvarnished truth. We must understand the pulse of our people and the hard realities of our consumption. It is my great honor to welcome a distinguished speaker who work tracks and also the heartbeat of African consumers' insights in real time. Please join me, ladies and gentlemen, in welcoming our data anchor, the man who will decode our digital reality, Francis Gichaba, CEO, Chief Executive Officer for One Pulse Africa. Francis, show us what the data is telling us about about African consumer digitally, and the virtual stage is yours, brother. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Collins, for that introduction. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I'm told there's an international audience joining us on this platform today. My name is Francis Gishaba, and I am the CEO at One Pulse Africa. I'll be taking you through a presentation in the next few minutes. Just let me know whether you can see my screen. Is my screen visible?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, let me try again.
Yeah, coming. Okay, great.
Okay. Are we okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Yes, so I will be taking you through this presentation today, and the title is, Are we digitally consumed or digitally connected? Now, this is important for us to answer because we have seen the exponential growth of technology use, especially after COVID. And the report I'm going to take you through is deep. We have looked at a very wide spectrum of human behavior. And I would like to make a disclaimer at this point. And this one is to you, Collins, and the organizers. The time we've allocated of 15 minutes is way too narrow to cover the entire length of this report. So I hope you'll find it within yourselves to give me at least a few more minutes just to extend and make sure that the audience leaves this presentation with a good grasp of what we have.
That is granted, and we had an internal discussion. We'll give you 7 more minutes.
Thank you very much. All right, so let's get into it. Okay, so I'll start by introducing us. Who is One Pulse Africa? So we are known as the people who urbanized market research. What does that mean? We infused technology into the business of marketing. And with that doing, we were able to bring down the cost of research. We are able to make research real-time and available. It is now liberal. So what this has done now for organizations is that we are able to utilize data when it is needed, wherever it's needed. All right, let's move on to the next screen. I don't know why this screen is, okay, just give me a minute. Okay, so just a quick background on where we are coming from. For the last 7 years, our AI technologies have provided big data to some of the world's leading multinational corporations. We've worked with Diageo, we've worked with Unilever, we've worked with Airtel, Blueband, and we've been behind some of the most successful and memorable campaigns that these brands have been carrying out. However, during this time, we've also realized that the consumers that shape brand dynamics, the consumers that we've been reaching out to shape the campaigns that have won awards, that have won revenues for these organizations, are also grappling with unchecked epidemics. And I think Collins have already alluded to that. We've seen various manifestations of social ills, ranging from digital addiction, mental health crises, drug abuse, gender-based violence, and so much more. So what this has done is that my screen is getting stuck. I don't know why. Just give me a minute. Yes, sorry, it has gone far. So what we've done now is that we've moved on to apply commercial success principles to sort out social epidemics. And this is around the same areas that I've just talked about earlier. So I hope this visual talks to you. This is a very common scene in most families across urban and rural markets. And that is what informed our topic today. Are these people digitally connected, or are they digitally consumed? So, why are we here? We observed the paradox that has been disturbing us. Families spend time together, yet they remain entirely apart. So, to understand this reality, we conducted a survey in Kenya where we surveyed 700 Kenyans across the entire country, across demographics. And our findings, which I'm going to take you through, reveal a landscape of near universal connectivity. Kenyans are highly connected, but at the same time, we've also noticed significant harm arising from this digital use. These range from sleep disruptions, emotional exhaustion, reduced attention spans, social strains, and increasing dependence on AI. So one of the key takeaways that you're going to see is that this dependence is across demographics, all the way from children under 12 years to the adult population, across gender, across urban, rural. And one of the things that we are going to come up with is that there is an undeniable need for targeted prevention, public education, and robust public health policy responses to safeguard the health and the future of our audiences. So let's start by taking a look at what does this mean? What is digital addiction? So digital addiction is a compulsive or uncontrolled use of digital devices and online activities such as smartphones, social media, gaming, or the internet. But the most important thing is, what are the outcomes? Individuals struggle to stop or regulate themselves on their digital devices. They lose temporal awareness while they are online, and most persistent negative effects on school, work, health, and their personal relationships. I will not take so much time on this slide, but this just to highlight the types of digital addiction. And as you can see, they range from gaming to social media, betting, all the way to shopping, professional addictions, online dating, streaming, and you can see at the bottom there, we even have now kids' addiction to the screens, and I'll be taking you through that a little later. I think I've already alluded to this screen. Who is affected? And this is the entire human spectrum, from children to the elderly, to the workers, to parents, to the teenagers, and literally everybody. And you can see how this pans out when we start talking granular. Just a quick overview to tell you where we are in terms of exposure. The smartphone connectivity in Kenya has now spiked to almost 93%. And the mobile phone penetration rate is at almost 140%. This is mainly driven by the fact that a lot of people have multiple devices on the mobile phones. So this data is from 2025 survey that was conducted by CAK. And what this means then is that the smartphone has now become firmly embedded as a digital dependency tool in the Kenyan daily life. So I will take you through how this has impacted the youth, but some of the key outcomes is that over 60% we know of Kenyans are under 25 years, according to the National Bureau of Statistics reports. We've seen that the algorithms used in these phones are specifically designed to hijack developing brains. And this ends up causing mental toil and a lot of people are suffering or getting to encounter digital bullying, especially the children. And you shall see how this has impacted kids at a personal level and even families in the report coming up. So this is just to give you an appreciation of who we spoke with. I mentioned earlier, we surveyed 700, and this is split 49, 50% according to the National Bureau of Statistics. The age distribution that you are seeing here mirrors the Kenyan population census that was recently conducted. The research again came across, we looked at people from urban, peri-urban, rural, and across the entire spectrum of the socio-income classes from AB all the way to DE. All right, so moving on, the methodology, I mentioned earlier that we infuse technology, which is mainly driven through the mobile phone, and we gave out questionnaires that cover both quant and qual, that is quantitative and qualitative. And the benefit about the mobile phone is that the respondents are able to come back to us in private and fully because they are able to answer these questions when they have the free time, meaning they engage with each of the questions and they are able to give us the rightful answers, which I'll be taking you through. So this is just a very quick overview. 97% of the people we surveyed use the internet on a daily basis. 8 out of 10 spend most of their time on the social media, and 58% spend 7 or more hours online each day. And the reason why this is significant is that it compares quite above the the world's average of 6 hours. Now, looking at the bottom right, you find that 60% of the people we surveyed reported to have sleep disruptions. Of course, there are other consequences of that. You can see there the bar graph showing physical health, attention span, relationship suffering, and all that. So I would start by taking you through the social media usage on the devices. And the question we asked here was approximately how many hours per day do you spend online across devices? And you can see over 80% spend above 4 hours. Now, an interesting feature of this slide is that the 18 to 24-year-olds spend the most time, but then they feel it's kawaida, it's okay, it's normal. It's the older generation that comes out with that guilt feel that they are spending excessive hours on social media. When we look at screen time and digital activities, the question we asked was, which activities take most of your time on the digital gadgets? You can see social media coming up at 82%. And by the way, this was a multiple question because we use our devices for multiple usage. Social media came up at 82%, followed by streaming, 53%, work productivity at 50%. But the most interesting thing here is that AI tools are now ranking much higher than gaming and online shopping. And this reflects how rapidly AI is becoming embedded in our daily use. All right, so moving on, we now needed to take a deeper look at the social media behavior. So we asked them this question: which of these platforms do you use at least once a day? And again, we use multiple platforms. So this was a multiple question answer. You can see WhatsApp coming up, YouTube, TikTok, in that order. So on time specifically spent on social media, separate from total internet use, over 50% spend at least 5 hours daily on social media. And you can see that quite clearly. So we wanted to find out, what are the outcomes? Which emotions do people feel commonly after prolonged use? And the top 3 selected were exhaustion, inspiration, happiness. But then, if you look at this spectrum, you'll find that the negative sentiments far outweigh the positive. Only 3% reported feeling nothing at all. And you shall see how this shapes the other factors around how these impact their overall life. So looking at the signs of dependency, we asked them this question: which of the following events have you experienced as a result of spending time on digital devices? Take a look at this now. Sleeping late because of using devices in bed, using devices during meals, and it goes down, 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 down all the way. So you find that most respondents have tried to take some action to reduce digital usage, but only 13% said they have taken no action at all to reduce their screen time. So what we are seeing is that there is a new concept of being alone while being together. Digital lives are replacing communal bonds. There is a concept of fabbing, which has now become socially acceptable. There is now the issue of lonely connection, where we are connected to thousands online, but we suffer from physical connections with the people near and dear to us. What this has caused is a rising case of mental and emotional health crisis. We have users on digital trying to self-medicate their loneliness using their devices. There is a comparison trap of FOMO. There is a digital withdrawal where we have people getting anxious, displaying anger or panic when they do not have their digital devices, and of course, emotional instability. On the work front, we have seen the loss of deep work because employees are unable to focus on complex tasks. We have the concept of ghost employees, mainly because digital addiction fuels presentism. Then we have productivity tasks, where we're saying that device anxiety and poor sleep patterns ends up creating a hidden massive cost for both individuals and the organizations that they are working. I will take a very quick look at gaming and betting just to give you a quick overview. 8 out of 10 people play digital online games. And when we asked which games they play, a good number, 74%, do play mobile games. Others play PlayStation, and you can see how that ranks down all the way to Fortnite. So in-game spending is mostly low at 71%, but they spend at least 1,000 shillings. 71% spend at least 1,000 shillings. And we have 6% who spend up to 5,000 shillings or more on a monthly basis. So it tells you it's big money. And if you've seen the kind of revenues being reported by the gaming companies here, it's in the billions. So that data is collaborated by what we are seeing. So when you look at the architecture around the gaming industry, we've seen that platforms intentionally, again, exploit dopamine. There is economic and financial drain, again, because the money that ought to go into productive use is put into games which are not productive. And now you've seen even the government weighing in with taxes in that particular sector. So taking a very quick look at betting, we asked this question: have you engaged in online betting or gambling in the past 12 months? I hope this does not surprise you. 69% came up positively, saying yes. And when we asked which of these betting platforms have you engaged in, or games have you engaged in, you can see sports betting taking a whopping 81%, followed by the others: casino, lotteries, cash cards, and all the way down. So looking at this data, 11% bet daily and 26% bet at least on a weekly basis. So this is a pretty huge incident. And a lot of studies have been done around gaming and betting. So we shall not go deep into that. I will take you now through a very quick run on AI adoption. We asked the question: how often do you use AI tools like chatbots, AI assistants, AI image, or AI search? And you can see the growing use of AI. On a daily basis, 53% of those who surveyed use AI. But when we ask, what do you use AI mainly for? A lot of them are using it for work. You can see their research coming tops at 80%, writing 50%, content creation or creativity, 47%, and the others follow in that order. A key takeaway from this slide is that there are small but notable categories like companionship and emotional support that show emerging reliance on AI for social and psychological needs. You shall see these highlight coming out quite prominently in the next few slides. So again, on matters AI adoption, we asked, what do you consider to be the biggest social risk or concerns regarding increasing use of AI? And you can see there quite a number of people are anxious about their jobs, job displacement at 56%, loss of human connection at 57%. There is also the issue of deepfake, and I think this one has been quite prominent and growing over the last few years. We have cybersecurity threats and the others following in that order. This is an interesting subject. We couldn't avoid this adult content because it draws a lot of audiences. As you can see, 58% have consumed adult content within the last 1 month. And when we ask which of the following interactive or paid forms of adult content have you engaged with, you can see standard porn sites topping at 43%, and all the others following down: phone, video, sex consultations, erotic literature, coming down all the way to virtual street clubs in that order. So when we look at the adult content, we wanted to find out which of the following best describes the psychological emotional impact. How do they feel after engaging? And you can see quite a number of people have a guilt feel. 40% saying that they frequently feel guilt, shame, or regret. Others use it for relaxation. But then we are seeing that there is still a small percentage, 18%, that says that it does not elicit any notable emotional psychological shift in their mood. So I promise I'll take you through this subject of kids because we've seen kids getting more and more addicted just by casual observation, and wanted to find out. Now, because we could not talk to kids directly, what we did is we reached out to their parents and we asked them, which activities dominate your children's screen time? And to those who are parents on this platform, you might find that this feedback resonates. 75% talked of cartoons. There are those who are addicted to YouTube. Gaming, again, which is quite surprising, came up. There is educational apps, and these educational apps started taking prominence after COVID, I think, until now. As you are aware, today we have lockdown, so a lot of schools are taking their kids online for the studies, especially the examination classes. And then you can see they have also been introduced to TikTok, and we are talking about kids from ages of 5 and above. All right, so you can see the exposure there is quite significant. You cannot wish it away. So looking at, again, screen time, what effects have you observed in your kids as a result of screen time? So again, we're talking about kids just above the ages of 5. And you can see parents are saying they have noted reduced outdoor activity. They have noted anxiety whenever the devices are removed. We have sleep problems, again, with children 5 years and above. So you can imagine what this is going to be when they grow much older. So the most frequently observed effect has been the reduction in outdoor activity. So factors like obesity are introduced much earlier to children who are very innocent, just because they've been exposed to these gadgets at a very early stage. So we wanted to find out, what, if anything, are you doing? This is again for parents. What, if anything, are you doing to regulate your children's screen time? So some of them try to reduce, at 60%. They encourage outdoor activities at 32%. They come up with family outings. And when we ask the question, how often do you check what your child is doing online, you find 40% don't really care. It's sometimes or rarely. So again, there is the issue of parental responsibility at this point. So we then moved on to the slightly older children, 13 to 17-year-olds, and we asked, what device do you use most often? At this stage now, we have smartphones, and you can see there are very high incidence of 88%. They are again those who have laptops, smart TVs, gaming consoles coming up, and all the way down to tablets. Again, for this audience, 13 to 17-year-old, wanted to find out which of these do you, as a parent guardian, do to, again, it was a multiple question. So we see that encouraging breaks from screens came up at 72%. Use of parental controls, 66%. Discussing online safety with the children, 63%. So notably, if you check across devices, we find that at least 41% of parents are setting rules and having conversations. But again, as we saw in the previous screen, there is also a very high proportion of parents who don't take so much concern. So again, sticking with the same audience of 13 to 17-year-olds, we ask the question, how much do online creators, influencers, or content affect your child opinion and interest? And you can see here, this is very, 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 very high. Over 80% are actually influenced by what they see, the creators they see online. And we've seen parents who came up now on the call side, indicating that children have taken up new interests, whether it's cooking or gaming, arising from what they have seen. Others talked about fashion. Others talked about children imitating the influencers, whether they're imitating their slang or talking behavior and stuff like that. So you can see parenting then becomes quite challenging, because there is what they learn from their physical parents, and there is what they are learning from the influencers that they come across on the digital devices. Now, the same age group, 13 to 17-year-olds, 94% of them use AI. So the question that we asked was, which AI platform or tools does your child use most often? I don't think it's surprising. ChatGPT comes top at 63%. And when we asked what they use it for, you can see homework and studying coming tops at 53%, getting information, creative projects, entertainment, and the others ranking in that order. So we asked them, which social media platform does your child use mostly? 53% took TikTok, 41% Instagram, but overall, we found that 69% of the children that we spoke with have a social media account. And among the most platforms were TikTok, Instagram. Those were the ones that came out predominantly. All right, so we'll now take a few minutes as we end towards the closure to look at what effects, attitudes, and barriers we are looking at for these particular audiences. So we asked them this question: which areas of your life have been negatively affected by excessive digital use? You can see a wide array of effects ranging from sleep to physical fitness, attention span, relationships, work productivity, mental health. But sleep takes the biggest toll at 60%. And when we ask which of these, if any, have you experienced because of digital use, we can see eye strain, headaches, anxiety, isolation, burnout, loneliness, stress, reduced confidence, aggression, depression, coming up in that order. Only 10% reported that they do not have or they have not suffered from any negative consequences. So when we ask, do you believe you have unhealthy digital habits? Quite a number of people gave a lot of mixed reactions. A combined 46% believe they probably or definitely have unhealthy digital habits. Only 12% are certain that they do not. But then when you look at the other question on the right, what in your opinion makes reducing screen time difficult? They are saying they have been hooked on entertainment. They go to the screens because they are bored, fear of missing out of habit, addiction or compulsion. There are those, of course, who use digital devices for business and for work. And then there is social pressure. So when you look at all these, only 6% said reducing screen time is not difficult. A lot of other people are having problems. And for those who use business, of course, there are 26%. You can see for them, it's all about work related. So we ask this question, who should take the biggest responsibility in addressing digital addiction? 59% said themselves, individuals. Others said parents. The other said government. In Kenya, we have a popular saying of serikali saidia. You can see there coming in at 6%. Then when we asked at which interventions do they think would help most, there is screen time regulation tools, digital literacy education, and this is very interesting, topping at 42%. There are those who think we need to have public awareness campaigns coming up at 42%. Parenting education, again, remember we had a survey that looked at kids, and that one goes all the way to school programs, workplace policies. There are others who talked about therapy. Again, it tells you there is a lot that people are going through. By the time people are talking about therapy, it tells you that the screens are causing more havoc than has been discussed. So ladies and gentlemen, I'll now take you through the last few slides on what we observed as key takeaways. The first, of course, is the scale of digital exposure. It's very high, 58% of respondents online spending 7+ hours on a daily basis. That's definitely very high. Then the second one is that betting is a primary risk to pain. And as I mentioned earlier, we have seen lots of studies being done around betting. What we haven't seen are researches that target human behavior or digital behavior like what we have done. We consider this job that we have taken you through being a baseline study, and we shall take interest to see how this one comes up. We shall also take bigger interest as we move along in digging deeper into some of the outcomes that we have seen. The third one being AI dependency, which is now growing much faster. 72% of AI users reporting increased reliance in just 1 year. So it tells you AI is becoming more prominent, again, both for productivity, for companionship, and other varied reasons. Children are showing dependency markers at a very early age. You saw the data that we took you through of 5+ years and the 13 to 17-year-old. It manifests all across. Mental health infrastructure is heavily underutilized. Only 4% sought to reduce screen time, use therapy or counseling. So it tells you that there is need. There is need for intervention here. The gap between self-awareness, 46%, and professional intervention is extremely large. Systemic responsibility is underassigned. Only 1% assign primary responsibility for digital addiction to tech companies. Yet, they're the ones who come up with all these algorithms that are designed to hook and ensure that people are always online. So just in summary, again, we Africans, we research African realities, not just here in Kenya, but across the sub-Saharan Africa. And we are equipping Africans with evidence, with tools, and strategic insights so that we are able to protect our community, our society. And we are looking for partnerships. We want to work with the other people within the industry, mental health and wellness experts, digital educators who could be joining us, who are on this platform this afternoon, child development specialists, digital wellness experts, clinical psychologists, youth affairs experts. Please, if you fall in any of these careers, please reach out to us. We would be happy to discuss with you and see what else we can do together. You can take a screenshot of this slide. These are our contacts. We'd be more than happy to engage and take these discussions forward. So Collins and the CoDEW team, thank you very much. I've come to the end of my presentation, and I hope it has been useful. We'll be looking forward to hearing what you think about what you've seen. And of course, we shall be sharing snippets of this presentation later. Thank you.
Wow, that was powerful. I think we should give Francis these flowers. Maybe if you can see emoji, clap, kindly make good use of it. Francis, that was amazing. It was spot on, and it has really brought the whole picture. Especially when you mention FOMO, the fear of missing out. People do not know what FOMO is. What is FOMO? It's the fear of missing out. There is indeed great consumption of young people, not even young people, but all sectoral age. Okay. So I can see there is a hand. There is people who want to react to the data that you just shared. I'll just give two people because time has really gone. Remember, we donated some more minutes and then you extended. But I was very generous because what you are sharing was spot on, and it really needed us to see the actual figures, not an imaginative figure. So if you are talking about digital wellness, you know what you really talk about. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know who is coming first, but I've seen a hand. Okay, there was a hand. Question, a concern? Okay, so to mean we are okay, and that brings me to something else because the discussion that we are going to have will respond to some of the figures, not some of, but all of the figures that you have just presented. Thank you so much, OnePlus team, and thank you so much, Francis. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point,
Thank you too.
allow, okay. So we are sorry for that. Dr. Catherine Karekezi will be with us tomorrow. She will give her keynote address tomorrow, first speaking. So just to give you a bit of what will happen today, these are the topical areas. Okay, I can see a hand here. Okay, kindly unmute yourself. Okay. Our first session is the e-learning and NCD prevention and the sedentary contagion. And then our second session, it's going to be on digital mental health. youth behavior, and algorithmic toxicity. I hope you really saw through the figures topical areas that we are going to discuss is really touching on that. And of course, there is one element that I strongly believe, and Francis said that when time allow, they'll go deeper on AI inclusive access, and also because we are practicing wellness and it is digital wellness, I will ask each one of us to have around 2 minutes, 2 minutes of rest. We had earlier allocated 10, but time do not allow. Please just have 2 minutes. Go take some a cup of water, and then you can stretch a little bit, and then you come back for the first session. Thank you.
Hands aligned for a bright light, connecting hearts through day and night. In schools we plant the seeds of dreams where knowledge flows, where knowledge flows like endless streams. Building bridges, moving strong in every home where we belong. Workspaces hum with unity. Digital wellness sets us free. A tablet's glow, a guiding spark. From tiny hands, we leave a mark. Empowering minds to rise and fly. Together we'll touch the sky. Building bridges, moving strong in every home where we belong. Workspaces hum with unity. Digital wellness sets us free from every corner.
Okay. I hope you had fun because if we are talking about sedentary, I think we also need to practice it in our digital awareness discussions and even in any other virtual discussions that you will be hosting. I urge you, please practice that. At least some stretching is very important. We were supposed to have a bit of some activity because of time. Unfortunately, we did not have it today. But we are moving to our next discussion, and I hope Boniface is here with us. Boniface is TV producer and director for KU TV, and I usually love his commitment in the youth and the well-being of the youth. And YIDP is proud to always knock your door. You give us free air, and also again supporting us in some technical work that we do, and also again supporting us in several events by giving the journalism angle. So we are glad to have you as the moderator for this session. Thank you, Boniface. If you are here, kindly unmute yourself, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Colin. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, so very hearty welcome to everyone who is joining us here today, morning, evening, or during the day. Today, for our first session, we are here to unpack an ironical crisis of the modern era. We are living through an unprecedented boom in knowledge accessibility. E-learning has broken physical barriers, democratized skills, and scaled education globally, but it has also introduced a stealthy, systematic threat, the sedentary effect, which is also considered as the long period spent sitting. Many forms of digital learning are structured around prolonged screen-based engagement, like we are doing right now. So increasing sedentary time and reducing opportunities for movement. So I will try also include some sit-ups in our positions just to help as we carry on. When sustained over long periods and not balanced by regular physical activity, this pattern may contribute to elevated risk of global communicable diseases, which might include metabolic disorders, type 2 diabetes, or cardiovascular diseases. So as educators, developers, and innovators, we have to ask a hard question. Are we educating the mind while systematically destroying the body? So today we aren't just here to complain about screens. We are here to talk about design. We want to look at how we can re-engineer educational technology, the user experience, the user interface design, gamification, and curriculum structures to turn passive digital consumption into active movement-driven learning. So I am Boniface Otieno, as Collins has intimated. I'm a content producer, founder of an online podcast called Pitch Africa, and I'm also a programs controller at Kenyatta University TV and radio. I'm not in this session alone. So for those who are going to help me dissect our session, which is e-learning, non-communicable diseases prevention, and the sedentary contagion, will be first is Winnie Rachel Atieno. She is a county manager at Unicap, Kenya. I have Abel Metsi Mekonen. Again, Abel, you just let me know if I did justice to the name. Abel is a public health informatics fellow, Africa CDC, and he's also the founder at Digital Health Digest. Also with us is Lizzie Otae. She's a partnership consultant, development communication leader. I usually love the sessions Lizzie conducts because she always has a very nice balance on how she goes about it. Finally, we will be having a pre-recorded soundbite from Ms. Stella Yu. She's the founder Triple I Education and Foundation. So we have a brilliant panel to just help us take us through this particular session. Just to kick us off, when we transition from physical classroom to learning management systems, the primary goal was to digitize content. And in doing so, we accidentally optimized for complete physical immobility for the user experience and interface perspective of the design of e-learning platform that was considered a bit hostile to the physical movement up to this point. So just to open it up as some of my panel, anyone can dive in by just introducing themselves, but also just helping us understand how can digital learning platform use behavioral data responsibly to improve student well-being. I think I'd want to start with either Winnie or Abel for this one.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so
Hello.
much, Boniface. Yeah, good. I hope everyone can hear me well. Uh, I'm so delighted to be here today. Thank you, Collins, for having a plan for this and for this roundtable. As mentioned, my name is Winnie Rachel. I have the privilege of serving as a country manager for UNICAF, and I'm passionate about making quality international education accessible, and also just looking at the affordability and the flexibility for learners across Africa. And beyond the boardroom, I am also the founder of the Bo Foundation, a grassroots organization committed to transforming lives through sustainable community development. And so in many ways, my work sits in the intersection of two worlds, digital transformation and human transformation. One focuses on expanding opportunities through technology, while the other reminds me every day that development, whether online or offline, must always put people first. So thank you, Boniface, for giving me the first opportunity. I'd kindly request you to just repeat the first question that you wanted me to tackle.
So, how can digital learning platforms use behavioral data responsibly to improve student well-being rather than increase their dependency? And I've liked that that's something we're also really passionate on.
That was breaking a bit. You said, how does digital learning platform use behavioral data?
Behavioral data responsibly to improve student well-being rather than increase the dependency.
Okay, that is well got. Now, having been in this sector, the education sector, and I'm so happy that this conversation is happening today, because digital learning platforms have a way of influencing or shaping how we can actually look at the learning rather than how the normal learning has been taking place. I strongly believe that the goal should be to understand learning patterns first and provide very timely interventions. And this is because we should try to protect privacy and also just, build trust at the end of the day. I look at what we do at UNICAF, and for example, platforms can, try and analyze engagement indicators such as looking at attendance, participation. We can look at assignment completion, the time spent on any individual learning activity. We can look at stuff like, signs of disengagement, because, this is an online platform. And so you identify students who may actually just need the additional support. And this, I believe, enables educators and ourselves in this space to offer what I may call personalized resources, wellness check-ins, having flexible learning pathways. That is very akin to what we do at UNICAF. Or having academic assistance before challenges become, bigger problems. We don't wait for last minute when people are exhausted mentally, and that is why that is when we come in. However, I believe that responsible use requires very clear ethical principles. And for me, I believe students must know what data is being collected and why. Data collection should be limited to what is extremely necessary. And then we should then look at how secure do we store this particular data after collecting it, and why do we do that? And data collection, I believe, we can store it well and never used in ways that we can put a lot of stigmatization or unfair profiling of learners, if you get what I mean. So human judgment should always, complement data insights, where we recognize that numbers do not exactly tell the whole story of a student experience, but ultimately, behavioral data should be used to empower students, have moments where we do a lot of personalization when it comes to learning, and us just promoting the general well-being and create more inclusive, educational environments. And we can also look at ensuring that technology is serving people, and not the other way around. So I think I'll just pack that at there, but summarize it by saying behavioral data such as attendance patterns, participation, discussion, assignment, looking at completion rates in school, login frequency, looking at what time was spent by any learner and any activities. And when Collins was giving the introduction, we also realized that, if we do not monitor the mental health of these students, then we are headed in the wrong direction. So when used ethically, these insights enable institutions to go ahead and offer very personalized learning pathways. For example, if a student consistently misses deadlines or shows a sudden decline in participation, then the platform can trigger supportive interventions such as wellness check-in, academic coaching. We can call their fellow peers to mentor them, and also offer very flexible learning options rather than just the strict measures that have been put by organization. So I think let me pack that as we proceed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Winnie, for that. And we are still on you. I was hoping Francis, the previous presenter, was standing while he was presenting so that he can help you on how we can integrate mandatory movement without affecting the standards or the delivery of whatever information.
Okay, so I think what I can say on that, how we can integrate. Let me start by asking. Is that from my end? There's an echo.
I think there's someone else whose mic is on. Dennis Maogwe.
Okay. All right.
So maybe just continue. And Dennis, put your mic on mute.
All right. Thank you. So thank you so much, Daniel, for that question. I want to strongly believe that e-learning systems can successfully integrate what you just called the mandatory movement and the wellness breaks without disrupting academic delivery. By doing a few things like intentionally designing learning around, the human well-being, rather than us expecting learners to sit for hours continuously. I was looking at research that shows that prolonged sitting negatively would affect concentration. And we know that we have seen even in children in classes, it would affect the mental health. It would affect the physical well-being. In fact, studies indicate that even short movement breaks of just 3 to 5 minutes every hour can actually improve focus and reduce fatigue, and also enhance information retention, because if you pump a lot of information on somebody at once, then they become psychologically fatigued. It's interesting to also just see what the World Health Organization recommended in terms of having regular physical activities breaks to counter sedentary lifestyle. For instance, we know that this has become more common in digital learning, where we sit in classes, online classes, for very long hours. I love that we've started practicing that even in this digital wellness online summit. where when we were asked to take a 2 minutes break. The key integration, however, not interruption. For example, institutions can build automatic wellness prompts into what we call the virtual classrooms, where we encourage learners to stretch, take some minutes to hydrate, take a brief walk after every, 45 or 60 minutes of instruction. And these micro breaks refresh the mind and often, I believe, would improve the engagement when these students return back. We talked about screens. I am one of those people who strain my eyes a lot when I'm on screen for long. And I believe these breaks can make a big impact. I look at what we do at UNICAF, where many of our learners are working professionals. They're either parents, they're either entrepreneurs studying online, and and the flexibility and learner well-being is very essential. Our asynchronous learning model already enables students to learn at their own pace. That is number one, which naturally boosts healthier study learning habits. We go a step further, where we embed wellness modules. We have mindfulness sessions where, virtual fitness challenges or even simple movement reminders with the learning management system to create a more holistic education experience where you see pop-ups. Have you hydrated? Have you taken, a break? We can also just look at it from the point of, from corporate wellness programs where companies can either promote regular movement. There's a program that we used to launch. We launched long ago for organizations in an organization I worked before that was called Fitness for Health, where we would have days where lifts are put on hold and everyone would walk on the steps, just to promote productivity. And the same principle applies to education. Healthier students are more engaged students. Because ultimately, the future of e-learning is not just about digital access. It's about looking at how human-centered learning environments where academic excellence and well-being would go hand in hand. Over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Vinny. You've reminded me I've had such an experience where the elevators were switched off at a while for people to use theirs. It might have been a fire protocol while at it, but it still got people moving. So I would want to come back to you to give our final words, but I want to share one of the videos I'm doing fit at work right about now. So just maybe a few seconds, then we come back to you, Vinny, to give me your final remarks. So let's see if this will work. Let me try. I'm still having. So Collins will bear with me, and we need just wait so that we do the closing.
No problem.
Final try. If not, then I'll come back for your closing remarks. Bear with me, please. So it's office workout sessions that I'm working with right now at the university. We are still doing the shooting right now, so hopefully it will help people use office facilities just to keep fit after being on the screen for quite a bit. So it's something I'd also hope we can incorporate during this wellness going forward. So I'm having an issue with that, Winnie. I'll just share it in the chat later on. But right now, just maybe to give us your feeling on generally how we should go about this area and how you can incorporate it for this particular work session that you're having or even for the future?
Thank you. I'd like just to start maybe a thought for a moment. Technology has given us a very incredible ability to access the world. That is, when it comes to world-class education from anywhere, any part of the world in the sector that I am in. But I see that with that opportunity comes a lot of responsibility required from us. If we are not intentional, the same technology that expands access can actually contribute to stress. It can contribute to isolation and fatigue at the same time. And you know, in the past, I believe that institutions should intentionally design for wellness by incorporating the things that we are learning every day. Looking at the way we embrace the future of education, we must remember that technology is one of the powerful tools, but it is not the destination. The destination is human development. And so the real measure of digital learning is not how many students log in. I strongly believe that we should look at how many people are empowered, how many people are inspired, how many people can we actually transform. And as we join in this particular session, the question before us is it should not even be whether technology will shape education. It's already here. Technology is already here, and we should at least be looking whether we will use technology that is here with us to create what we would call a more equitable, more healthier, and more human-centered learning experience. If we can combine innovation with empathy, you know, look at maybe data with dignity and flexibility with well-being, then education will not simply prepare learners for the future. It will give them opportunity to reshape it. As I end, I leave us with a thought that in our pursuit of smarter classrooms and more advanced technologies, as the people who sit in policies, driving policies, as people who plan for such events, let us not forget that every data point represents a dream, and every learner that we come across carries untapped potential. And so as we make every educational decision, we make we have to be very cognizant of the fact that it has the power to change a life. So the future of education must be digital. Yes, that is not debatable. But above all, it must remain deeply human. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Finny. We couldn't have closed it any better. So we are having a vast group of members within this session. We have seen guys from Ethiopia, Congo, Uganda, Brussels, and within Kenya itself, we're having Nairobi, Migori, Mombasa, Vihiga. So this means we are having a cross of people within, and all of them are interested on how the future of e-learning cannot just be about delivering some noise or information to a static screen. It must be about designing holistic learning experience that engage and respects the entire human body. So if you are a developer, I challenge your metrics of screen time. If you are an educator, build movement in your curriculum structure. So let's design an educational landscape where learning enriches the mind without compromising the body. So a massive thank you to YIDP for this opportunity, and to you, Winnie, for we were supposed to be a panel of 5, but I think we did well, just the 2 of us. So I thank you for your vision. And to all of you tuning in and participating, let's keep moving and stay active. Due to the time constraint, I just want to hand it over back to Mr. Collins to proceed on. But if there are any questions to Winnie or myself, let's drop them in the chat box and we can keep engaging. So thank you very much again, and back to you.
Thank you so much, Boniface and Winnie. That was an amazing discussion, and I'm very sorry for the team that was supposed to come in. Technology sometimes happens. Stella shared her video, but unfortunately, we are not able to play the video. I think it has been corrupted or something, and she is in the US, so and it is very early. Liz, with the what is happening in Kenya, I don't. It seems like the power and the network has all gone. But anyway, they'll respond to what they were supposed to respond to, and we'll gather them all in the report that we'll do. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I really appreciate your patience and I really appreciate your engagement. Unfortunately, we are not going to have our break because the time has gone, but we will have the break after our keynote speaker has contribute. I think that works. Let us at least connect what the discussion that we've just had with the keynote speaking that we are going to have right now. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce Dr. Muchungi. Dr. Muchungi, I think we've really we've met in so many instances, and I've seen on how she's working. We always admire her work. Dr. Muchungi will be representing Dr. Zul, who was supposed to be here with us. Unfortunately, due to her work, she is also, I mean, he got an emergency to attend to, but he did not leave us. He delegated to Dr. Muchungi. So just a brief of who Dr. Muchungi is. Dr. Muchungi holds PhD computational neuroscience and a master degree distinction management and information system from the University of Surrey, United Kingdom. She also holds a Bachelor of Science degree in computer science. Sorry for that. If I am not audible, kindly just interrupt me a bit, but I hope I am audible. A degree in computer science from the African Nazarene University, Nairobi, Kenya, and a postgraduate diploma in advanced web development in e-business from Hamburg College, Canada. Prior to joining Aga Khan University, Dr. Muchungi honed her expertise as the communication and technology lead and the monitoring, evaluation, and learning team member with the transforming employability for social change in East Africa. That is TEST Care. Project through the Department for International Development, United Kingdom. In her last engagement, she was a lecturer and program leader at the African Nazarene University, where she is working on introducing new pedagogies for curriculum efficacy in a technology-centric environment. In addition, Dr. Muchungi is the co-founder of Nicola Energy, a waste-to-energy startup founded in 2017, focused on conservation of resources to ensure financial inclusion and personal empowerment of the marginalized. Dr. Muchungi currently role in manager education. Current role is manager education technology and strategic partnership development at the Aga Khan University and intervention scientist within the Brain and Mind Institute (BMIs). Her mandate is to promote the mental health agenda by actively seeking out collaborations within Aga Khan Development Network. Without to promote awareness and destigmatization of mental health in stepped approach. Dr. Muchungi's diverse expertise is emerging technologies, science, instructional design, development, and pragmatic solution is well suited to support the project. She maintains extensive regional network and partnership to facilitate community sensitization campaigns within culturally appropriate messaging and material. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome Daktari. Daktari, if you can hear me, kindly unmute yourself, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Collins, for the invitation. And I'm glad to be representing the Aga Khan University on the Brain and Mind Institute. I will share my screen. Just give me a minute. I'm not sure I'm able to. Oh, okay, I am now. One second. Great. Oops, one second. So I think the topic that the team had issued to Zool was the neuroscience of digital habits. And I mean, why this is appropriate for us to speak about is because the Brain and Mind Institute at the Aga Khan University really just works at the intersection of brain and mental health, and specifically looking at the neuroscience or the science behind these conditions, and how to inform global health policy, but also to promote wellness. For the purposes of today, we'll be talking about promoting digital wellness. And so I'll just continue. So I'm significantly pro-technology. I think technology is an amplifier, it's not a replacement. In fact, I think technology can be deeply powerful. It can expand access to education, as Winnie just spoke about. It can connect young people to opportunity. It can support creativity, entrepreneurship, advocacy, and learning. But technology must be an amplifier, not a replacement. It can extend human capacity, but it should not replace human connection, as well as sorry about that. Human connection. Yes, it should not replace human connection. Yeah, it can support teaching, but it should not replace formation. It can provide information, but it should not replace judgment. So the question is not whether we use technology, as Winnie so aptly put it earlier. The question is whether technology serves the human being. And for me and for many of those who are pro-human digital ecosystems, it's so important that we keep the human in the loop. So people remain the decision makers. You and I remain the decision makers, the caregivers, the meaning makers, and the ones responsible for ethics, context, and care. Um, I think we've all experienced this thing where we pick up our phones, especially when we've come home from work or from whatever, and you intend to look at one thing, but you end up being on the phone for so much longer. Um, you're looking at another app, you're watching a video, you're reading something we did not or you did not intend to read. You're comparing, laughing, reacting, scrolling. And then we ask ourselves, how did I get there? Or what time is it? Maybe it's that 2 a.m. where you're up still doom scrolling. From our side of things, we talk about this experience as a digital drift. Many of us think of it as doom scrolling. And I want to suggest that digital drift or doom scrolling is not simply poor discipline. It's not simply weakness. It is actually design meeting biology. Our brains are designed to notice novelty, respond to reward, seek connection, avoid threat, and reduce uncertainty. So these are usually survival systems. The challenge is that many digital platforms are very good at speaking directly to those systems. So for many youth, especially for Kenyan youth, this conversation needs nuance. Technology is not just entertainment, it's learning, it's opportunity, it's creativity, it's work, it's visibility, it's identity. It's also expression, and it is the community, it's can tend to be our community and the voice that we seek. So we cannot stand here and simply say young people should use technology less. That would be too simplistic. The better question is, how do we use technology in ways that protect attention, support brain health, and preserve human agency? Because the world is digital. The question is not whether young people will inhabit it. They already do. We already do. The real question is, what kind of digital world are we inhabiting? And is that world designed for their flourishing or for you and I's flourishing? It was great to see the first presentation. I think Francis was talking about dopamine and it hijacking the system. And so let's talk about this. Actually, dopamine is often described as the brain's pleasure chemical. But that also is quite simplistic. Dopamine is better understood as part of the brain's learning, motivation, and prediction system. It helps the brain decide what is worth paying attention to, what to seek again, and what to learn from. We have the scientist Wolfram Schultz's work on reward prediction error, which is very useful in this conversation. The brain is constantly asking, what did I expect? And what actually happened? If what happens is exactly what the brain expected, there is not much learning there. If what happens is better than expected, dopamine activity increases. The brain pays attention and learns, and then seeks this feeling or engagement again. So if what happened is worse than expected, then the dopamine signal drops and motivation is recalibrated. This is why unpredictable rewards are so powerful. They teach the brain to keep checking. So this matters because so much of the digital world is built around uncertainty. A notification may be nothing, or it may be something important. A message may be ordinary, or it may be exciting. A post may be ignored, or it may go viral. That uncertainty is not accidental. It keeps the brain engaged. The brain does not only respond to reward, it responds strongly to the possibility of reward. That is why we check even before we know whether there is anything worth checking. And over time, the brain learns the pattern: check, refresh, scroll, return. So when we talk about digital habits, we're not only talking about behavior, we're talking about learning systems in the brain being repeatedly trained. So this digital habit loop is quite simple. First, there's a cue, a notification, a vibration, boredom, silence. It could be loneliness, or even just the phone sitting nearby, or your laptop or your tablet. Then there is a craving, curiosity, anxiety, fear of missing out, the formula that was talked about earlier, or desire for connection. Then there is an action, opening the phone, scrolling, checking, refreshing. After that, there is the reward: novelty, validation, humor, relief, information, or a form of escapism. And then the loop repeats. This is important because not all rewards are joyful. Sometimes the reward is simply relief. Relief from boredom, relief from anxiety, relief from silence, relief from uncertainty. And so the question is not only, do I enjoy this? The better question is, what need is this digital habit actually serving? And so this brings us to the idea of incentive salience. This is where Kent Berridge and Terry Robinson's work becomes very useful. They distinguish between wanting and liking. Liking is the actual pleasure of enjoyment of an experience. Wanting is the pull or the urge to seek, chase, return, or check. And these two can separate. That is important in digital life because many of us continue scrolling long after we've stopped enjoying it. We're not necessarily feeling the pleasure or feeling any form of pleasure. We're feeling pulled, wanting. The phone becomes less about enjoyment and more about urge, habit, relief, or emotional regulation. This is the point where we must pause and ask, am I using this tool or is this tool training me? So when wanting separates from liking, we may keep checking even when the experience is no longer satisfying. We may be tired, but still scrolling. We may feel worse about being online, but still return. We may say, I'm just checking, but deep down, the habit is serving something else. It may be helping us escape pressure. It may be helping us manage loneliness. It may be giving us quick relief from stress. It may be feeding comparison, but also pulling us back. This is especially important during adolescence and young adulthood because the brain is still being shaped by repeated patterns. And the digital habits young people practice every day are not neutral. They are training attention, emotion, self-regulation, and identity. And maybe in another conversation, we can talk a lot more about that. So now let us speak specifically about young people. The adolescent brain is not a weak brain. It's a learning brain, a social brain, and a possibility-seeking brain. But it's also a brain that is highly sensitive to social reward. I think here I'll just sort of showcase with my hand. We have Dr. Daniel Siegel, who has posited or proposed the hand model as representing the brain, with your arm being the brainstem, this part here of the brain being our fear center, and the wraparound, the front bit being the prefrontal cortex, which is our decision-making bit of the brain. And so I think science tells us we develop backwards actually from the brainstem all the way to the prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex is actually our decision making. It helps us weigh decisions, what is right, what is wrong. The amygdala in this region of the brain really is our fear center. And so for many of us until we're 25, 26, the prefrontal cortex has not fully developed. And so what is active is our amygdala, but which is also tied to the idea of social connection. And so using that idea, knowing that for many of our young people up until the ages of 25 and our adolescents, we're not able to weigh decisions effectively. Case in point, the horrible incident with Utumishi. It's really important to know that and to figure out then what does that mean, especially within the digital context. And so we have researchers such as Maria Maze, Eva Telzar, and Mitch Prenstein, who have explored how young brains respond to social feedback and social media checking. This is not surprising. Adolescence is the developmental period where identity, belonging, and social standing become very important. But digital platforms actually amplify this. So things like likes, comments, shares, streaks, views, and follow accounts turn social feedback into visible, measurable, unpredictable reward. So again, this is not weakness, it is biology meeting design. So what is the impact on development and regulation? So the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain involved in planning, judgment, reflection, impulse control, and long-term decision making, continues developing into young adulthood. At the same time, reward and social systems are highly active. So sorry about that. So the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain involved, which is the part of the brain involved in planning, judgment, reflection, impulse control, and long-term decision making, continues developing into young adulthood. At the same time, reward and social systems are highly active. This does not mean young people cannot make good decisions. It means that their environment really matters. If the environment constantly rewards speed, interruption, comparison, and instant reaction, then those are the circuits young people practice. And the brain strengthens what is repeatedly practiced. It's actually, I think, pruning anyway. Deep learning requires regulation. It requires the ability to pause, focus, reflect, and inhibit distractions and stay with difficulty. If digital ecosystems constantly interrupt that process, then they are not just distracting learners in the moment, they may be shaping the habits of attention that learners carry forward into full adulthood. And this is why, again, design matters. So many of us tend to believe that we are multitasking. But from a neuroscience perspective, much of what we call multitasking is actually rapid task shifting or task switching. And Adam Gazzaley and Larry Rosen, in their work on the distracted mind, describe how digital interruptions interfere with the brain's goal systems. The brain is trying to pursue a goal, say, read, write, listen, like you are now, solve, remember, and then an interruption collides with that goal. Each switch has a cost. It uses cognitive energy. It disrupts working memory. It makes it harder to return to deep focus. So when a learner is moving between PDF, WhatsApps, TikTok, YouTube, email, and class notes, they may feel busy, but the brain is paying a cost each time it switches. Learning needs attention, and attention needs protection. Gloria Mark's work on digital attention is also helpful here. Her research shows that after interruptions, it can take time to return to the original task. The point is not the exact number of minutes alone. The point is that interruption has a recovery cost. And importantly, we are not only interrupted by external notifications, we are also interrupted by ourselves. We check without being prompted, we refresh without needing to, we move away from difficult tasks because the brain is seeking some form of relief. And this matters in education because deep learning requires sustained attention. You cannot deeply read, deeply solve, deeply write, or deeply reflect if your attention is being pulled through multiple worlds every few minutes. So a distracted learner is not simply an undisciplined learner. Often they are a learner in an environment that has not been designed for attention. And so this is why we like to say education is not content delivery. And it's very interesting. Last week, I think we were in Ghana with a team of us, really speaking to this conversation about the pedagogy and sometimes the andragogy or the science of learning and how to retain that attention. So education is formation. It is attention, regulation, reflection, connection, and agency. And one of my favorite researchers in this space is called Ron Richard, whose work is on thinking dispositions. And he has actually what he calls the map of thinking as facilitators of learning, or even as cognitive neuroscientists or scientists or researchers. How do you know that someone is actually thinking? So a thinking person is not simply reacting. They are observing carefully, reasoning with evidence, making connections, considering viewpoints, asking questions, and uncovering complexity. That is exactly what good education should cultivate. So when we bring technology into education, we should ask, does this tool help learners think more deeply? Or does it simply deliver more information faster? Because information access is not the same as learning. Learning requires attention, and attention requires meaning. Sorry. And this requires meaning, it requires reflection, it requires the ability to sit with complexity. So this is one of the most important points for young people. Digital wellness is not only about reducing use, it is about developing a critical and curious lens. Every digital learner deserves to ask, who designed the platform? Sorry, one second. Who designed the platform? What behavior is it rewarding? What is it asking me to pay attention to? What does it make easy? What does it make difficult? And maybe the deepest question would be, what is this tool helping me or the learner become? That question actually really does matter, because technology does not only help us do things, over time, it can shape our habits, our attention, our identity, our confidence, and our sense of what is normal. So digital literacy should not only be about how to use tools, it should also be about knowing how tools use design to shape us. So now let us connect on this. Now let us connect this to public health and the conversation that we're having about NCD prevention. The question is not only how long young people are on screens. The deeper question is, what is the screen replacing? Is it replacing sleep, movement, outdoor play, face-to-face connection? But more specifically about sleep, because I think we're doing a lot of work in the space of sleep, it's so important to know what is the role of sleep. Sleep actually engages our lymphatic system and does what we call brainwashing. It removes, it detoxifies, it removes so the proteins, harmful proteins that tend to accumulate within our brain. And then that promotes brain health. Which is also very important in the long run, because it's protecting our brain from mild cognitive impairment or things like dementia and Alzheimer's. And so if we're not sleeping well, then we're not detoxifying all the harmful things that are within our system. The other thing that sleep does is that it consolidates memory. And if we want young people to be learners, to be deep thinkers, if they're not sleeping well, then a lot of the times their memory is not being consolidated, and this means there is an impact. We could say a lot from a neuroscience point of view, even with regards to movement and what it does. Maybe I'll say one thing. Strength training and movement and activity actually causes lactic acid to be generated. Lactic acid then causes something called BDNF to be generated within our brains. BDNF is considered to be something like fertilizer for our memories. And so if we're not moving, if we're not having activity, then we're actually negatively impacting our lives. And so the moral is not to panic. Not every young person is harmed by digital technology. Not every platform carries the same risk. And not every hour online has the same meaning. A young person learning code online is not the same as a young person doom scrolling at 2 a.m. A young person using YouTube to revise chemistry is not the same as a young person comparing themselves to filtered images. A young person building a business on social media is not the same as a person, as a young person compulsively checking for validation. So context matters. The research is increasingly helping us move beyond simplistic screen time conversations. Researchers such as Ben Carter and colleagues have examined problematic smartphone use and its association with things like anxiety, depression, and insomnia among adolescents. People like researchers like Yung Yu and her colleagues or their colleagues have also looked at addictive screen use trajectories and mental health outcomes, including suicidal ideation. WHO Europe has also raised concern about the rising problematic social media use and gaming risk among adolescents, which was so aptly put by the first speaker. The key word here is actually the word problematic. And so the issue is not simply that young persons use technology. The issue is whether they feel unable to control use, whether it interferes with sleep, school, relationships, mood, safety, and/or functioning. And in Africa, and more especially in Kenya, where many adolescents already face mental health pressures, we need a brain health lens rather than a moral panic. The question is not what is wrong with young people. The question is what environments are shaping their brains, habits, and well-being. So UNESCO asks a very powerful question: technology in education, on whose terms? And that is the right question, because technology in education should not simply mean more devices, more platforms, or more dashboards, or more content. We need to ask, does it support deep attention and focused thinking? Does it strengthen a teacher-learner relationship? Does it support inclusion and equity? And does it help learners think, regulate, and create? The OECD has also raised concerns about digital transaction in learning environments when technology is not intentionally integrated. One second. So the challenge is not just access. Access matters, of course, but access without design can produce distraction. The goal is technology on human terms. Technology that supports deep learning, human connection, attention, and agency. And so what does brain-aware digital education look like? We would suggest 5 principles. First, design for attention. Protect deep focus and reduce unnecessary interruptions. Second, design for sleep. Sleep is not laziness. Sleep is brain maintenance. Third, design for movement. The brain learns through the body. Digital learning should not mean sitting still for hours. Fourth, design for connection. Technology should strengthen human bonds, not replace them. Fifth, design for agency. Young people deserve to understand the systems they are using. They should know how habit loops work. They should understand reward, attention, interruption, and platform design, because the future will not belong only to those who can use technology. It will also belong to those who can use technology wisely. So Here I'm showing 3 different design logics. If we design only for engagement, we capture attention, but we may weaken well-being. If we design only for access or skill, we may connect many learners, but still miss depth. But if we design for brain health, we protect attention and sleep, encourage movement and connection, build agency and critical thinking, and extend human intelligence, which should be the goal. Digital education should not simply reach more people, it should form people more deeply. And in terms of what I really like about this is that technology can offer the first few lines. I think I'll leave that. So it can help us begin. It can give us tools, prompts, pathways, and possibilities. But the responsibility for meaning making, care, judgment, and human capacity must remain with us. So let me close with these 3 challenges. To the young people, your attention is valuable. Your sleep is valuable. Your creativity is valuable. Your mind is valuable. Use technology, learn with it, build with it, earn with it, create with it, but do not let it quietly design your habits, your identity, your confidence, or your future. To the educators and policymakers, let us stop asking only how to bring young people onto the digital world. Let us also ask what kind of digital world are we building for them? And then to all of us, technology should extend human intelligence, not replace it. It should strengthen human care, not weaken it. It should support connection, not displace it. It should deepen learning, not fragment attention. And therefore, the problem is not technology. The problem is technology without brain-aware design. And the opportunity before us is to build digital ecosystems that serve the brain, protect health, and strengthen human potential. I think I'm done. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kenning. That was amazing, a well-informed work. Let's give Candy her flowers. And please send our regards to Dr. Zul. I strongly believe in our next event, he will be able to be with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Candy. Thank you. So if you have any reaction, if you have any remarks, you can raise your hands or you can put it on the chat. We encourage you to put it on the chat. I can see more people are dialing in because every person is dialing in as per the session that they really resonates well with them. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna have a break. So you will how many minutes? I think let's do a 5 minutes break. Let's do 5 minutes break. Okay, let's do 3. I've been informed 3 will be better. Let's do 3 minutes break. Then we come back. So grab water. Then Shiraz, do have a question, please. Shiraz, go ahead before we go for a break. Unmute yourself.
So good afternoon. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. So, really insightful presentation, Dr. Kendi. I'm really amazed at the what you presented. My question is, do you offer any kind of classes or lessons or any counseling services? If you do, please share the details. Would be interested.
Oh, great. Yeah, so we have several trainings. We have a training called Brain and Mental Health in the Society. We have a training that's specifically on mental health, which is the mental health fast response training. And so there are quite a few. We do brain health sessions as well and multiple other aspects around brain health. We have things like the neuropsychology of the brain. And so I did share my email address in the presentation, and I'll be sharing the presentation, and feel free to reach out and we can be able to discuss a little further what are some of the learning opportunities around this subject matter.
Thanks, Dr. Candy. I think I missed your email, but no problem. I'll get in touch with you later. Thank you.
Let me put it in the chat.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So I think that's, is there any reaction? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Kendi. So let's do 3 minutes. 3 minutes, then we come back for the next session with the wonderful speakers. I'm telling you, today it's gonna be that day. You will learn, and also you'll be able to implement what we are sharing here in your community. So at this point, just stretch, go grab, refill your cup, then stretch a little bit, then you come back. Thank you.
Hands aligned for a brighter light, connecting hearts through day and night. In schools we plant the seeds of dreams where knowledge flows like endless streams, building bridges, moving strong in every home where we belong. Workspaces hum with unity. Digital wellness sets us free. A tablet's glow, a guiding spark. From tiny hands, we leave a mark. Empowering minds to rise and fly. Together we'll touch the sky. Building bridges, moving strong in every home where we belong. Workspaces hum with unity. Digital wellness sets us free. From every corner rise the sounds of change and hope. It knows no bounds. A coalition bold and proud. We lift each other above the crowd. Through fibers and invisible strings, we're shaping futures that brightly sing. Every child, every voice, together we make the choice. Building bridges, moving strong in every home where we belong. Workspaces hum with unity. Digital wellness sets us.
All right, we are back again. I know that was short, but sorry for that. It's because time do not allow, and I know we do have maybe some meetings to attend to, and some will want also to go back to rest home. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in our session 2.
Hands aligned for a brighter light.
Sorry for that. Okay, we are in our session 2, and at this time, allow me to welcome very wonderful speakers. Allow me to welcome our moderator for today, who is a man that has been in digital wellness space for quite a good time, and also a psychologist. He has been doing amazing job in terms of building the capacity, advocacy, helping young people understand what digital wellness is all about, and also doing a bit of baseline, trying to understand what really do we need to do to help the young people overcome doom scrolling, overcome a bit of the number of time that they spend on their screen, just to mention. And he's also a certified digital wellness expert. And today he's gonna moderate our session 2 on digital mental health, youth behavior, and algorithmic topic. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome Albert Migoa. Albert, if you're there, kindly unmute yourself. The audience would like to see you and also enjoy the session. Are you there, Albert?
Yes, I am.
Oh, great. Okay, sorry for that. Let me take. All right,
I'm here.
I can see you now. So go ahead, Albert. Kindly.
Introduction, Collins. So, hello everybody from whichever part of the world you're joining from. It's really a fantastic day to be here with you, and I say the conversation is more timely than ever. I say this because, as you're all aware, tech is the way to go, and we are here, so we can't avoid it. So having said that, then clearly the need for digital wellness. Just a bit more about myself. I'm a trained psychologist, mostly focused on what you call community-based mental health and psychosocial support, where I've done a lot of work with young people in the informal settlements, as well as doing a lot of psychosocial support consultancies around tech space, most notably the technology facilitated gender-based violence space. And I'm also into aspects of mentorship. I do mentorship on my free time, mostly targeting youth between the ages of 18 to 30 years old. And besides that, I'm also I'm an enthusiastic of technology. I'm very passionate about community networks, internet governance, and also now, of course, digital wellness. So just to get things started and without much ado, our session today will be looking at digital mental health among the youth, behavior, and algorithmic toxicity. We have a very robust group of speakers with us today. We have Oluwatosin Olabode, I hope I've pronounced it correctly, who is a certified digital wellness educator, a TEDx speaker, author of Digitally Well, and creator of the DMI systems. Oluwatosin, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good to see you, Albert.
Thank you very much. Our second speaker is Nolene Nasuna Kabale. Nolene Nasuna Kabale, who is a digital wellness and cybersecurity communications lead at the Defenders Protection Initiative. Nolene, are you there?
Yes, I'm active. I'm here.
Thank you very much. And finally, we have Brian Kerr, who is an innovation and for young people lead at UNICEF. Brian, are you there?
Unfortunately, he has just dropped and is finding difficulties dialing in, but once he's in, we'll let you know.
Okay, great. So before we begin the conversation, I think it's so important to just, put some context into what the discussion is about. And just give me a minute.
We can't hear you, Albert.
Just give me, I'm having a bit of a difficulty, but I'm sorting it out. Just Okay. So I'll begin with Oluwatosin Olabode. From your perspective, how are social media comparisons, online validation culture, and digital overstimulation affecting youth mental health in Africa? From your experience, how is social media comparison, online validation culture, and digital overstimulation affecting youth mental health in Africa?
Yeah, this is a very good question. This is one of the reasons that got me into this space. To begin with, let's give context to what mental health is, using a layman's perspective to help ensure that everybody joining from different parts of the world have a basic understanding of it. Mental health essentially overviews our ability to think, our ability to feel, and our ability to behave in a way that is healthy. When that happens, we term it good mental health. There's also a case for poor mental health. And poor mental health essentially occurs when our ability to think, our ability to feel, our ability to respond or respond to life circumstances is negatively impacted, thereby negatively affecting our well-being and ability to function. That becomes a problem. There's also mental illness, which is the diagnosed perspective of the conversation where you no longer can regulate your ability to think, your emotional state, your ability to feel, your ability to behave. And in that instance, you need assessment, you need treatment. I'm starting in this way because if you don't have that foundational understanding, then you can't know how this our the way we interact with the digital space, how it impacts us, whether it's impacting us positively or negatively. And to the context of the um, three things that you stated, which is social media comparison, which is online validation and digital overstimulations. These are all things that lead to poor mental health, and if not taken care of, can lead to mental illness. And so sadness is not mental illness. It can be poor mental health, especially when it's persistent. And if kept unchecked, it can lead to mental illness. So there needs to be that understanding of the bridge between mental health and mental illness. There's poor mental health. So it's possible for somebody not to be mentally ill, but have poor mental health. Now, to the question in itself, social media comparison exposes young people to idealized lifestyle, to beauty standards, to success narrative, to patterns that the society has accepted. Before I explain the consequence of that, you can look at it from two perspectives. So the core strength of good mental health is a grounded identity. Our identity is who we are, who we know ourselves to be, the totality of all that makes us us, in addition to our names, our society, our engagement, our work. Those in themselves do not form our identity, but all inclusive make up what we call our identity. And so once we are not grounded in who we are, we begin to experience identity crisis. These are templates that lead to mental illness, that lead to poor mental health. And so for someone that is not grounded in who they are, when they engage with social media, case in point, social comparison, it will definitely negatively impact their mental health because they're looking at their lives less than the person next to them. Nobody can define themselves as ugly unless they are thinking somebody else as beautiful. The criteria to say you are poor is that somebody is richer than you because you by yourself is a standalone. And so once we begin to engage in social comparison, especially for young people, it negatively impacts us. Young people begin to compare themselves with curated culture. So that's the part of not being grounded in who you are. The beauty of being grounded in who you are is that it's okay for you to see people live the life that you aspire to live and be okay with it. Because one of the narratives I'm seeing flying around social media right now, in a way to comfort young people, the intention is right, but I think the approach can be inaccurate to an extent. In the bid to encourage young people, we tell them that a lot of social media is an illusion, and that is true. But there are genuine people that are living real life. It's not fake life. And we need to begin to have a generation of people that can see somebody achieve success and be okay with it. You don't build your life by bringing down somebody else's life. There's enough space, there's enough room for everybody. And so, on one part, it's super important that we are grounded in who we are because that defines how we respond to the things we see online, whether or not we compare ourselves with other people. On the other part, it's also super important that we are grounded in who we are so that when we are navigating the digital space, we are comfortable in our skin, not to compare ourselves with other people. The second perspective to the question is the digital overstimulation. There's a question I always ask people, and when Francis was speaking and dropping data in the beginning, I wrote something down. And the question I want us to leave here, one of the questions I want us to leave here thinking about is social media an escape from poor mental health? Or is social media the cause of poor mental health? Because as a result of boredom, people can find escapism in social media. But as a result of excessive use of social media, that can also lead to poor mental health. So it's important to know where the source of the actions and inactions are coming from. So digital overstimulation, constant notifications as a lack of structure, endless scrolling, short-term form of content lead to overload of attention. This affects emotional regulation, ability to concentrate, sleep quality. Our last keynote speaker just spoke to some of this perspective and our overall well-being. Young people are especially vulnerable because their brain is still developing. Our keynote speaker alluded to that. And so I conclude in this way. In Africa, these challenges are amplified by limited access to mental health support and low levels of mental health literacy. As smartphones and social media use continue to grow, many young people are navigating these pressures without adequate guidance. Before you start driving a vehicle, there is a driving school that teaches you how to drive. But for the younger generation, before you start navigating social media, and social media is just one social networking site platform. You also have gaming, you have different other platforms, but we're using social media as case in point. And so before young people begin to navigate the social media space, is there guidance, is there training, is there structure to help them navigate that sea of information in a way that keeps them intact, in a way that keeps their mental health positive? And so as smartphone and social media use continues to grow, many young people are left to navigate this and figure it out on their own. The result is a growing need for digital wellness education. Conversations like this that Collins and his team are organizing is super important because there's a growing need for digital education, resilience building, and access to mental health support, especially because, like our keynote speaker spoke, especially because the way the digital space has been designed is not accidental. The attention economy is engineered for engagement. An adolescent's brain is the most profitable and the most vulnerable. And so it's very easy for them to engage it. It's very easy for them to take advantage of it. So yes, in conclusion, I will say that social media comparison, online validation, and digital overstimulation is negatively impacting our mental health, is leading to poor mental health. And in instances where there aren't check and balances, those poor mental health lead to mental illnesses like depression and anxiety, general anxiety disorder, for instance.
Thank you so much for those insights. Very informative, and just goes to tell us it for me just really emphasizes the real need why there's need for digital wellness, especially among youth, and how platforms such as social media can affect one's mental health, especially of the young ones, keeping in mind that they're one of the most connected individuals online. So thank you so much for that, for those invaluable insights. Now, to Nolene, with your background in strategic communications, you know how hard it is to get through to Gen Zs. How do we effectively sell digital wellness to youth? That's one. And what practical everyday defense strategies can we teach them to help establish strong digital boundaries? I'll repeat. With your background in strategic communications, you know how hard it is to work to get through to our Gen Zs. How do we effectively sell digital wellness to youth? What practical everyday defense strategies can we teach them to help establish strong digital boundaries? Nalin?
Thank you so much. I'm just trying to get my video on. Sorry about that. Should be my network. Okay. I guess, thank you so much. First of all, I think and I believe that we are actually framing digital wellness the wrong way if we are on social media platforms. We are selling restriction. We have seen countries coming out and recently Australia that banned social media for under 16s, and the UK and other countries are actually pulling up this kind of ban for children or for youths. And I feel like we are selling it wrong. Young people here, do not want to be sold to restriction. Young people here, they spend less time online. When we tell people you spend less time online, put your phone away, disconnect, that is not realistic because technology is where they learn, it's where they're socializing, it's where they're building businesses, it's where they're creating communities. So I'm of the idea that instead of selling restriction, I think we should sell them freedom. But freedom in what sense? Freedom to focus, freedom to think independently, freedom from algorithmic manipulation, freedom to decide how technology fits in their life instead of allowing technology to decide for them. And usually in my work, I always ask young people, who is using whom? Is it you using the technology or is the technology using you? Is social media using you or you actually using it? So the question completely changes. When you look at it this way, the question completely changes the conversations and the discussions that we carry out along communications and digital wellness. Practically, I'd call out for digital boundaries, not digital punishment. When we are talking about digital boundaries, it could be pause before you're posting. Tell them, let them know before you post something on social media. First, pause a bit. Would you still ask? We always ask the youths that we train or we talk to in our cybersecurity talks and workshops and seminars. Would you still be comfortable with this post 5 years from now? And recently, when I was having a talk about children's safety online, I was telling people that children come onto the internet even before they are born. We are seeing parents that are sharing a child's photos, like baby showers, photo bumps, like the child is already on the internet before they are born. So how are we going to restrict that? Why are we selling restriction to someone that is even on the internet before they come to the real internet world? So again, it's about the education that we are giving the young people. Are you comfortable that this post 5 years from now, are you comfortable with it? I mean, pause before you click. And then we need to also understand the cybersecurity kind of information we give them. We need to know what is happening. Their scammers are depending on urgency. Whenever someone says act immediately, then that means that's when you should exactly slow down. When you need to pause, we need to tell the youths, you need to pause before sharing. We ask you, you need to have these questions of who created this content that I'm sharing, where am I seeing it, who benefits if I believe it. So again, I come up and encourage young people to protect something that we rarely talk about, not just their passwords. They need to protect their attention because attention has become the currency of the digital economy. The attention you're giving these social media platforms is, or these apps, or these technological forums, it's where they're making the money from. So we need to look at it in that way of focus on that attention you're putting out on that platform because it's where they're creating money from you. The platforms are looking for attention. That the much more attention you put on these platforms, the more economy it's growing. The digital economy is growing for them. So if someone is controlling your attention long enough, they then begin to influence your emotions, your opinions, your purchases, even your behavior. So digital wellness for me is all about protecting one of our most valuable human resources, which is our ability to think independently. And I think that's one of the most important skills Africa's generation is going to need as we continue to explore the digital platform and the digital economy. And we always have a saying that one of the digital space is the new oil for everyone. It's the new, that's where the new riches are. So if we're able to protect that, then we are able to protect the young people that are going to grow and flourish and are using these platforms instead of restricting them. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nolene, for those valuable insights. Back to Mr. Olabode. Now, what warning signs should parents, teachers, and communities look out for in digitally overwhelmed youth? What warning signs should parents, teachers, and communities look out for in digitally overwhelmed youth?
I love that this question is coming after the last speaker. As she was speaking, I was just clocking it, as young people will say, because she's so spot on. Again, I'm very key on the roots of everything that we do, because that determines how you treat, how the solutions come. And so if we tackle conversations from a symptom perspective, the root issue will always come up after a few days, after a few weeks, after a few months. And a lot of the conversation around digital wellness or people's understanding of what digital wellness is beginning to become digital abstinence, is beginning to become absolute restriction, digital detox, and all of that. While those can be templates that can be used depending on the state that a person is in, that is not what digital wellness is. Digital wellness overviews our relationship with technology. How can we stay productive while avoiding the associated harms that come with technology usage? Digital wellness doesn't talk, don't use technology. It talks, use it in a way that keeps you holistically well, that keeps you productive, achieving the things that you intend to achieve. Now, to the question that you asked, there's also another misconception. So let me clear that before going specifically into the answer. And the misconception that we see on the field in regards to parents, in regards to teachers, in regards to communities is thinking that the solution is less screen time, thinking that because the problem is the amount of hours that these young people are spending, the solution then becomes reducing those numbers of hours. That's the first error that we need to change. The problem is not necessarily the hours being used, it's the pattern in which those hours are used, is the things being done when those hours are used. And I give you a classic example. Imagine that a young person, for instance, decide to spend 6 hours engaging technology, and the person's intention, for instance, is a student, and the person's intention is research, and the person decides, okay, so for the next 6 hours, I'm doing my project, I'm going to use it for research, and the person creates a template such that every 45 minutes, the person is taking 15 minutes break. So the person breaks it into 5 segments. That person is going to leave that 6 hours time because there was a structure, because there was an intention with how the person wanted to use it, and that intention aligns with who they are and want to become. You will notice that when the person leaves, the person will leave with good mental health. Again, notice how when I was explaining it, it is important that I stated that there's structure. So you are not doing 6 hours straight. You are taking 15 minutes breaks every 45 minutes. That's super important. And when you are taking breaks, you're not just taking random breaks, you're taking screen breaks. Because probably you're working on your laptop, you're not switching to your iPad, you're not switching to your phone. You are taking non-screen breaks. For that kind of person, the person will live with a good mental health in comparison with somebody that just spends 20 minutes engaging with the digital space, but use the whole of that 20 minutes for online validation, for social comparison. Even though that person spent less amount of time, I mean, compare 20 minutes to 6 hours, even though that person spent less amount of time, the person will leave that engagement with a poor mental health because of how the person spends the time. And a lot of research is backing this up. The problem is not necessarily the hours used, but how those hours are used. With that information, some of the things that parents can do, or one of the ways that parents can, or some of the things that parents can observe when their children engage or their young people engage with technology, is the loss of control over device use. Now, technology was designed to support life's endeavor, not hinder it. And so the inability to control your usage. The last speaker spoke about, are you using it or is it using you? And so the inability to control your usage of technology is an indication of tech dependency. That's something that parents need to look. When you collect the phone from them, for instance, so you want to have family bonding time or whatever the templates, different families have their different dynamics, and you collect the devices from them or you tell them to drop it for a period of time, how do they respond to that? Do they get irritated? Do they get hungry? Do they struggle to drop it? That's a warning sign that you should, as a parent or as a caregiver, be observing. Another thing is validation dependency. So you notice that your child or that young person posts a picture online and gets 500,000 likes, for instance, and the person is very excited and then posts the next day and gets 2 likes, and the person becomes sad, the person becomes withdrawn, the person becomes moody. Those are also indications. So observing how your child or these young people are using technology and the emotions that come from that usage can be a very powerful indicator for parents and caregivers to know whether their usage of technology is validation dependent or not. Another is sleep disruption. When does your child sleep? Do you have a defined time? When the keynote speaker was speaking, what was ringing in my head is sleep is the way the brain washes itself. So imagine if you do not take your bath for 1 week or you do not take your bath consistently, how your body will begin to become. Or imagine that you do not shut down your laptop over a period of time. You notice it begins to lag. And so sleep is the way the brain washes itself to remove those toxicities that are in it. So as a parent, if you are noticing that your child is no longer sleeping well because of probably binge watching movies or chatting with their friends and all of that, those are indicators. Those are very serious indicators that are warning signs that you should take advantage of. Another thing is social withdrawal. So if your child is just isolated, we were not created for social isolation. We are created for social connectedness. And so your child, you're just noticing that this child is withdrawn. He's just excited with his device, and he's like, he can go one day, he can go 1 week if you do not call him with or her, if you do not get their attention. That's another indicator. And then body concern image, both for male and female. There's a lot of filtered images out there. There's a lot of conversation on how bodies should look. And so once your child begins to feel less of themselves because of what they're seeing online, those are another warning signs. I was speaking at a summit, and it was a summit for both parents and young people, and I was asking a very important question. So somebody said that the friends are always saying that they are hotter than her. quote and unquote. And in my perspective, if somebody is hotter than you, what's the opposite of hot? It means that you're cooler than you're cooler than them. So this person is hotter than you, but you are cooler than them. If somebody says I'm taller than you, that means you're shorter than them. You have to trick, and that's why in the first question I was speaking to, we have to be grounded in who we are, our identity, because that's the confidence from which we can navigate life. But as an observation or as a warning signal, if you notice that your child begins to become body conscious as a result of what is seen online, that's also a warning indication. For teachers, it will be attention difficulty. So the inability for a child to focus for 5 minutes tasks that you're giving them, that's an indication. Sudden academic decline. So you are noticing a reduce in cognitive load, and the issue has nothing to do with academics. There's a difference between a child is struggling to understand math and you are guiding that child. That's an academic issue in comparison with when the issue has nothing to do with the struggle academically. So this is a child that used to be an A student, but all of a sudden, because of binge watching, spending time on their devices and other distractions, as the case might be, is beginning to perform badly. That's also something that teachers must begin to note. So if you notice a decline in your child or your student's academic performance, you must begin to investigate what is the source, what is the reason for that. You can also see social isolation here, where the child is not engaging with its other classmate or emotional sensitivity, as this case might be. And then finally, for communities, I think all of the things I've said for parents and teachers are things that communities can identify. But one more thing that I will add to that is reduced participation in cultural and community life. As Africans, we're a very communal people. We live as a community. I mean, the principle of Ubuntu, I am because you are. So if you begin to notice that young people are becoming physically present but absent, one of the speakers spoke about phobing, the idea of using your devices while in interaction with somebody else. And so if you begin to notice that young people are physically present in religious setting, at home, in different society, but they are not engaging in what is happening, those are indicators. And one example just dropped in my head. I use this to conclude so the other speaker can speak also. We're in a generation where, imagine you are in 2 different cities as a parent with your child, or you're speaking with your uncles and auntie and you're on a video call. We're in a generation where, even though it's a video call, people minimize it and they're still on WhatsApp, on different platforms, engaging in other things, when you should be present physically, engaging with the persons that you're supposed to be engaging with. So that's the perspective I'm speaking from, a communal perspective. You will begin to notice that people are present but no longer present. That's a very strong indicator that something needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those important nuggets. And I think for me, what really stands out is that elements such as lack of sleep, seeking validation with poor performance, over dependence, really, the point is really when it starts to affect the day-to-day behavior of the youth, then that by itself is a problem. They can't socialize, they're not eating great, they're not engaging even in physical activity, then it really becomes a problem. And now you know that this young person is now being digitally overwhelmed. Now, back to Nolene. Now, Nolene, we know that short form and algorithm-driven content is highly addictive. From a perspective in digital wellness and protection, how does this constant overstimulation and doom scrolling compromise a young person's digital safety and their ability to make secure choices online?
Thank you so
I'll
much.
just run through that one thing. Mm-hmm.
It's important to understand a broad term. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
It's
can.
important to understand that algorithm content for our listeners is a broad term for any content that is ranked and served to users by platforms, automated systems, rather than shown in chronological order. That means these systems analyze your past behavior. They predict exactly what will keep you scrolling and keep you engaged. Well, doom scrolling is obsessively scrolling through social media or news feeds to read negative or distressing, tragic kind of news. And again, before answering this, it's important that we need to understand one thing. Most people believe social media companies are competing to provide information. As always, I argue, and I would strongly continue to argue, that they're actually competing for something that is much more valuable, which is our attention. I know one of the great economists, Herbert Simon, once said, "A wealth of information creates a poverty for attention." And I think this quote has never made sense than today when we're actually having such a conversation. Because today attention has become one of the most valuable commodities. Every second you spend on TikTok, on Instagram Reels, on YouTube short videos, the long videos, or even Facebook is not accidental. Algorithms are constantly learning your behavior. They're learning how long you pause on a video, what is making you laugh, what is making you angry, what is making you anxious, what keeps you watching, because every extra minute online is translating into advertising revenue and more user data. So it's more like when we say content is algorithm driven, we are talking about platforms designed to maximize engagement, not necessarily well-being. So now when we go to doom scrolling, it's like the habit where, like I said, you're continuously consuming negative, emotionally charged, or sensational content, even when it's making you feel worse. And the interesting part about doom scrolling is the human brain is naturally paying attention to the threats than the positive information. And psychologists always call this negative bias, where from that perspective, you're paying attention to danger has helped us survive. And digital platforms have actually learned to explain that tendency. One time you go on your TikTok and you're watching, probably a popular person has died. And that popular person, maybe the wife has given a speech that's so touching, then all of a sudden your content goes back to death posts, you're now following death posts. Then I think you get so intrigued, you go back now on your searches and you type in most emotional speech a wife has ever given. So now it has really entered into your kind of your mind. So content that shocks us, that angers us or scares us, actually often keeps us engaged longer. That's why misinformation, you're going to find outrage or sensational headlines spread so quickly compared to the opposite. But what happens to a young person's brains after hours of this? That means their attention has become fragmented, their working memory has become overloaded, their ability to think critically has decreased. And instead of asking, is it true? Is this true? You've seen a story. Instead of your brain saying, is this true? It's now asking, what is next? Okay, what happened? You're looking for part 2, part 1, and you know how TikTok keeps putting those things. There's part 1 up to part 40. So you keep following all those parts. And when the brain is constantly in that reactive mode, it becomes easier to manipulate. I'll give an example. Like during the COVID pandemic, many young people spent hours consuming alarming and often misleading content about vaccines, about cures, and in several cases across Africa, this led to individuals sharing false health advice or clicking on malicious links that were disguised as urgent updates and exposing their devices to malware. Because when you look back on the cybersecurity, there were so many hack attacks that happened during that time of COVID. I guess maybe because we all had the time and it's what kept us busy when we were under lockdown. Another layer is overstimulation. This is the overstimulation that just doesn't affect thinking. It actually affects our emotional regulation, like the past keynote speaker gave. Young people are constantly exposed to extreme content, violence, conflict, unrealistic lifestyle, body image pressures. You'd want to look like someone else, and now you're having that kind of pressure and crisis narratives from around the world, which has created a state of emotional fatigue amongst young people. So when someone is emotionally overwhelmed, they are more likely to make impulsive decisions. They are more likely to trust quickly. They are more likely to click without verifying. They're more likely to respond to messages that trigger fear or urgency. And then that now takes us to decision fatigue. When young people scroll through hundreds or even thousands of pieces of content in a short period of time, their brain becomes very tired. And now when we look at the brain getting tired, it defaults to shortcuts. So instead of analyzing information deeply, it relies on quick judgments. And that's when you find someone is quickly clicking a suspicious link. That's when someone is downloading unsafe files. Someone is believing misinformation without questioning it. So while we need to talk about the aspect of normalization, when young people are constantly exposed to risky behaviors online, they're oversharing, viral challenges, misinformations, it starts to feel normal for them and they're not able to actually avoid these attacks. And then when they encounter suspicious message or fake profile, it doesn't immediately raise an alarm to them because they have normalized it. It has become something normal, and their baseline for what is normal has shifted. So another issue could be reduced attention span, where we see cybersecurity, where cybersecurity instead requires sustained attention, like reading a URL carefully to know what is a wrong URL, which is a false one, and checking the source of information, verifying identity, but also short form content. Yeah. And it's also important, like the World Health Organization recently reported the growing levels of problematic social media use amongst adolescents, where many young people actually struggle to control their use, even when it negatively affects their well-being. Here in East Africa, we are seeing smartphone ownership and internet access increase every year, which is a good, but again, digital literacy isn't increasing at the same pace as the ownership of the smartphone. So we are connecting millions of young people to the internet without necessarily preparing them to navigate it safely. And I think that's one of Africa's biggest challenges. So the future isn't simply about connecting more people. It's about building a digitally resilient citizen who knows how to think critically in environments, who knows how to think critically in environments that are designed to bypass critical thinking. I think that's what we need to pay our attention to. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nolene, for those very insightful nuggets. And I tell you, I think this just goes to tell us why it's so important to really understand what digital wellness is. And I must say, people always think doom scrolling is just being on your phone checking, looking through content. They always tend to leave out the fact that it is looking through the word negative content. So I think that's really insightful. Now, due to timing, I'd just like to hear a closing comment from both Nolene and Mr. Olabode. We'll begin with Olabode, and then now we can open the floor to any question and comment. Olabode, over to you.
Thank you. I think that, like I said earlier on, the goal of digital wellness is to help us build a healthy relationship with technology user. Technology was designed as an amplifier. Technology is not a replacement. I think the keynote speaker spoke to that. And so it is super important that in how we navigate conversations around digital wellness, we ensure that we are helping people build better relationship with their technology usage. We help ensure that the value system in understanding is the same across board. So I give you a classic example. If a child is told restrictive templates to device usage and he goes to school, and those in school, other people's children, were not taught restrictive use to usage, then the child becomes conflicted because now he's seeing my parents don't want me to use phone, but my friends' parents want them to use their device. But if you have a value-based conversation where you're explaining this is the reason why you have limited amount of time that you use on your device, or this is why we permit you to use it at this moment and not at this moment. When the child goes into the society and he sees people using it differently, then the understanding for that child becomes, oh, they might have a different template from me. But the problem becomes if you are saying, especially to the younger generation, you are telling them do not do A, B, and C without a Y. That's where the problem becomes. And so in conclusion, I'm saying that the value must remain the same. You must explain the rationale behind the decisions that you are making. And if as a parent, as a community leader, as a caregiver, you are going to explain the rationales behind the decisions you are making, it then means that you have to have those rationales. You have to have the understanding of those rationales, because children and young people model, they copy what they see. So you can't model a lifestyle that you are not living. You can't preach a lifestyle that you are not living. So the goal of digital wellness is to help people build healthier relationships with technology, ensure that whatever systems, templates, and structures you are putting in place is helping achieve that, not affecting the achievement of that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nolene?
If I could leave with one thought, maybe it could be that the real digital battleground today is human attention. So as Africa is building its digital future, it's important that we invest not just in technology, but in digitally resilient minds, because the strongest firewall that we have right now is a generation that knows how to think before we click, how to avoid scammers, how to know who is trying to recruit you into terrorism via your online platforms. And the responsibility actually belongs to all of us, policymakers, whether you're an educator, you're a parent, a tech company, and even communities. We all have a role to play in shaping the digital environments that are empowering us instead of exploiting us. And if we get this right, we won't just have like a connected continent. We will have a conscious, informed, resilient generation that's capable of using technology to drive positive change without actually harming or affecting their mental health. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nolene and Mr. Olabode, for your very insightful and thought-provoking responses. And I think, once again, as I said earlier on, we can now really see the real importance of digital wellness among the wider populace, and in particular, the youth and young people at large. So at this point, I'd like to open the floor for any question or comment for our speakers, maybe for about 5 minutes. If there's any question or comment. Yes, Brenda?
Thank you very much. And thank you to the panelists. I have a few, there can be general questions just to the team and what you think about it from the first presentation and also the one that you've just had, the first panel and this second panel. So listening to everything that the experts have been talking about concerning the digital wellness and of course the kind of content that our children are accessing in the network or in the internet. I was just trying to also think through, because we are talking about the digital wellness package. So I was just trying to ask myself or wonder, especially now that we are seeing even more and more institutions going into digital learning. We are having a lot of digital classes. We are having the online classes. Even most of the universities are, of course, migrating to online classes. Then we are seeing more and more content. I work in a health field, so we are seeing more and more content also getting into the online space, whereby we're even having now the digital doctors, let me call it that, and we are seeing more and more of the younger generation, especially accessing most of their health information and consultations. They consult AI and mostly the digital space. Then, of course, I'm also looking at aspects of like most of our schools. We look at in our country right now, Kenya, we realize that most of the schools have also adopted the digital learning. So we are seeing our kids also going into the coding aspect and AI. And we are seeing more and more young people also doing work, especially around AI testing. So these are like online works. that they do the testing, and of course they're given some sort of money. So I was just looking at these in line with the digital wellness package that we are talking about. And I'm wondering if beyond, of course, just a curriculum of maybe training or educating them on how to be safe, is there a need for us to have that conversation now at policy level, so that we are looking at a comprehensive digital wellness package? Because I know, like in my country right now, we have the we have the data policy, which don't really tackle the aspects of wellness. So I'm just thinking, is it the right time now, as probably your team, the movement, the CoDEW movement, and probably a few more partners, to start discussing issues of a revamped package, whereby we are looking at issues ethics, because we are seeing more and more online content which are specifically targeted to this particular young group, and they are targeted for various maybe purposes. Because we are looking at, especially when I talk about the AI testing, you realize that more and more of these digital companies, they try to test AI, AI logarithms, but they use our young people without actually even telling them what they are doing or why they are doing those tests. So is it time that we also think about the ethics behind it? We are seeing more and more of the medical equipments coming in with AI, whereby now you kind of don't have to go for the specialized consultation. You can use your own, you can do your own self-care in the house. We have a lot of these devices that are now coming with the medical AI components. So I'm just wondering, in that digital wellness package, is it now time to start that discussion whereby we are having even the ethics behind most of these things that we are doing? Then secondly, I'm also looking at it, is it time to even have that conversation that even the institutions that are now moving online, or whatever you are doing online, is it possible that we now have, or we mandate these particular institutions to incorporate the digital wellness package within their curriculums? Because when you look at even the time we take online, when you look at the content that we are watching online, we have various people who are very active, TikTok platforms, the IG platforms, different kind of platforms that are online. Is it now time to also just mandate these people to do screening for maybe the young people, their target group, occasionally, so that those who might need some sort of help, then they have a referral pathway, so that we are having programs, same as, let me say, like the manufacturing companies, when they were manufacturing a lot of products and they were having, like, for example, the plastics, and they were mandated to offer a recycling kind of initiative for those packages. Can we also now have more and more institutions that are adapting online or AI packages also have a digital wellness package aligned with that, so that we're ensuring that in as much as we are reaching the target audiences, but we are also trying to solve their mental health? Because again, remember, even work, we are seeing more and more people now even going online. You are working remotely, but are we even seeing the employers now having the wellness packages? Because sometimes for most of us, and I love the way our first panelist spoke about the dopamine and how it affects the way we reason, and of course, how we continue to access those packages. So sometimes we might not even know that we are addicted, but actually we are suffering from an addiction. So that was just like a general comment, and probably something for us to just discuss about and see whether it is time to expand this conversation, so that it's not only about probably the studies on what we are accessing, or probably how we are utilizing the online, but now speaking about this wellness component at policy levels, because indeed we are really, really affecting the minds and the brains, especially of the younger generation. Thank you, and apology for taking too much time.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Any other comment or contribution or question for this panelist?
Albert, maybe allow me to
If not,
respond
okay.
to Brenda's question, because I think that was directly to CoDEW team. I think it wasn't for speakers. Yes, Brenda, it is time. And that is why we are having this conversation. And that is why we'll really be grateful also if you be also part of this movement. And if you check on the data that Francis Agichaba shared, again, that tells you it is time. And then if you check on the kind of contribution that UNICAF shared, how they practice well in their digital platform e-learning, it is time because we really need to know how is it being done? How do they implement it? How can we come in to support? And how can we be able to now work with young people to do a lot on digital literacy? Because if you check on the component of Francis Gichaba, that was on it was on attitudes and barriers of intervention. And then there was a question of what interventions do the youth think will work best amongst them. And if you check on the regulation was leading, and then there were some other components, name it, and then the last was therapy. And what you mentioned of involving a bit of the IGs on these social media platforms on how they can screen the young people, I think that is seriously needed. And through the formulation of workforces, I strongly believe the government will take action and the policies will be able to revamp policies because policies will never be revamped without data, and now we have data with us, and I strongly believe there will be a lot of research and in-depth data that will support on some of the findings and the recommendations that we'll make out of this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Collins, for that. So if none, thank you very much for joining in for this session. We hope you've picked a thing or two of course, for your consumption, and of course, to also disseminate and share with others. So I'd now like to hand it over back to Collins. Collins, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Albert. I don't know whether we have some questions on the chat. Stacey, do we have any question on the chat? If there isn't, then we can close for the day because I can see our time also have already gone. Okay. Okay, I can see Lena, a question from Lena. I would love to hear whether or not the efforts for digital wellness are also aimed at advocating for addictive design in these platforms is stopped or reduced. This is sorry, I can't. All right. Are you able to see it, Albert? I don't know why am I missing it somewhere? Okay, this is a key feature as a digital literacy alone without looking at the harmful and addictive design of this platform may not suffice. Okay. Is there someone who can respond to that? Check on Lena, Albert.
Let me jump in. I think that the question is asking if digital wellness efforts is aimed also to big tech giants, essentially, that create these addictive designs. And to add to what you said, linking it to what the other what Brenda added as an add-on thought.
What you're saying is very important. I don't want to miss it out. Work on your microphone a bit. Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I forgot to drop that. So I was saying that I think the question is asking about the responsibility for tech creators who design these addictive designs and frameworks and all of that. And I was saying that I was going to link it to what Brenda had said and your response to that, because in the holistic approach to tackling digital wellness is in three folds. So you have the government policy and regulation, you have the ethical and responsible tech design, and then you have the human responsibility. If you check Francis, when he was dropping the data, what most people alluded to was the human perspective of it, because that's what is 100% within your control. There will always be need for advocacy towards policy regulations and policy formation, regulation, and implementation, because a lot of times these policies get passed into law, but the implementation of it becomes an issue. That's one thing that we must keep tackling, but it is not 100% within our control, because to a very large extent, most of the people that sit in those offices are about their personal interests. The second perspective is to the responsible and ethical design creation. That also is not 100% between our control. So one of the things that I train on is character development. And one of the pillars of character development when you are building a vision is that you are ensuring that whatever you create does not harm anybody or nature. So your goal is to make profit, but you're making it in a way that does not harm people or does not harm nature. The problem with people that don't have that value structure is that their goal for a vision for their organization is profit. So whether I am harming people or harming nature, as long as I am making profits, they are good, because that's the goal for them. And so a lot of these organizations have as a template, their goal is profit, and what sells? Addictive design, because the more time, Nolin spoke about it, attention is the strongest economy right now. So the more I can grab your attention, the more money for me. And so on their own, they might not be motivated for ethical design, for responsible design. And that's why the bulk of how it will seem that the bulk of our conversation is always creating templates where what is 100% within our control is how we use these platforms. So if we can get ourselves to a point where we are grounded, we can better navigate this place. However, I'm saying this to say, I just set that foundation as a template for what is currently happening. However, we are strongly advocating, and that's why this conversation is happening. After this 2-day event, there's going to be a policy document that will come out of this that will be sent to the relevant authorities, that will be sent to the relevant partners. We hosted a conversation 2 months or 3 months back. The same thing was done. And so we are strongly behind the scene pushing for advocacy for less addictive designs in the creation of these technologies, and also pushing for better government regulations, better government policies, and stronger implementations therein. So you are absolutely correct that there must be an advocacy for addictive designs to be changed for these platforms. And Brenda was also absolutely correct that there must be regulation from the government. Government also needs to be part of those that are regulating these tech creators, so that, because if there are consequences to creating things that damage people, it will reduce the number of people creating such templates. Thank you.
Awesome. Brenda, you have another reaction or question? All right. Okay, thank you so much to our speakers, Olabode, Nolin, Albert, that was amazing. And also to our keynote speaker, we really appreciate all the knowledge and your time of becoming part and parcel of this important discussion. Stacey, you have a question before I continue?
No, I don't have a question, but we have a question at the chat.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. The last one from Ayob?
Yes, yes.
All right. Okay, I think this will go to Nolin. Nolin, I'll give you this. This is Ayob from Ethiopia. What expert advice do you give young people to follow digital wellness? Are you there, Nolin? You are on mute.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I often tell young people that digital wellness isn't about using technology less. It's about using it more intentionally. Technology should be a tool that serves you, not something that actually controls you. And
Yes.
when we often talk about protecting your attention, it's the greatest asset. We also talk about protecting your passwords, but we rarely talk about protecting our attention. So like I earlier said, every app is competing for your focus because our attention has value. So before we open these apps, we need to ask ourselves as young people, why am I here? So don't let that algorithm decide what is for you. You need to pause before you click. You need to pause before you share or post something. I usually call it the pause principle. Every scam, every piece of information, every cases of cyberbullying succeed because someone reacted without thinking. So we need to create a habit of pausing and asking, is it true? Is it safe? Is it necessary? Does it help me to contribute to it? And lastly, we need to curate our digital environment like we curate our physical homes. If someone constantly brought negativity into your home, you wouldn't invite them back. So do the same online and follow accounts that leave you anxious, angry, or are constantly comparing yourself to others. So follow people and communities that educate, inspire, and help you grow. Your online presence is your digital reputation. So you need to keep that safe, and it needs to build you, not to destroy you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Nolin. And like I mentioned, I am grateful for every speaker who have taken their time to participate in today's session. This was our first day of digital education wellness, and I strongly applaud you for that. And again, I was supposed to give a very long closing remarks, but because time do not allow, I only emphasize on, I know we are experts in this virtual hub. I encourage you to be part of this movement, CoDEW, and I encourage you to volunteer even in your country. Also, if you can start up a workforce, and if we come all together in this, then to mean Africa will be totally transformed, and digital wellness will be integrated in every digital sector. The world is connected, the world is digital. There is no shortcut about it. We really need to have safety measures for each and every of us, each and every young person, so that at the end of the day, we have a thriving generation rather than a struggling generation. So, ladies and gentlemen, that allows me to also encourage you to let's start having a conversation now. How can we start start planning together for the in-person event? Our Kenyan fellows, I think we should start up the workforce that will come up with. We should start up immediately to have our first, maybe if it is dinner or if it is a breakfast, so that to share, we take maybe around 3-4 hours to share on how we can build a digitally well country. And I strongly encourage the Uganda chapter and Nigeria chapter and some other chapters also to do the same. So without further ado, allow me to close up for today, and I encourage you, please dial in for tomorrow's event. It's gonna be very, very powerful because we'll be looking at the inclusivity angle, and also we'll be looking on how we can also plug in wellness in our workspaces. And we have very, very knowledgeable experts like Craig will be coming in. We have Victor Prince who will be joining us. We have representative from disability or persons with disability docket in Kenya who also will be joining us, and also we'll be having real life testimonies. So I encourage you to dial in tomorrow. Save that on in your calendar. Let this be prioritized for tomorrow, so that we build a roadmap and we come up with a framework which will be very useful in our community, in our country, and across Africa and beyond. And for this particular time, I will only wish you good evening and see you tomorrow.